Chapter 27, Secrets Between Good Friends. Connor settled quickly into his new room. After unpacking his suitcase, stuffed with clothes, snacks, and his beloved micro-gaming console, the Polybius, he flopped back onto the bed with a long, contented sigh. The mattress welcomed him like a soft cloud, its high thread count sheets and plush duvet offering the kind of comfort he'd only ever seen in films or luxury hotel reviews. He stretched out fully, letting his limbs sink into the bed as the tension finally began to drain from his body. After everything that had happened that day, the terror on the train, the Spartan rescue, the chaotic reunion at King's Cross, this room felt like a pocket of paradise. A quiet, fleeting escape from the storm outside. Still, even as he lay cocooned in comfort, his thoughts drifted inevitably back to Nick. He pictured his best friend downstairs, sleeves rolled up, elbow deep in a mountain of soapy water, still taking orders from May with stoic patience. The mental image made him smile, but beneath the humour, a flicker of concern remained. "Apollo," Connor said, his tone unusually serious. "How is Nick doing? Really? Not just physically, emotionally. I know he acts fine, but I've seen that look in his eyes. He bottles things up." Apollo's response came promptly, measured yet gentle. "Mr. Adams' emotional condition is best described as unstable but functional. During rest cycles, he tosses frequently, mumbles, and displays signs of recurring distress. Yesterday morning, he struck the shower wall with enough force to fracture 2 metacarpals. Diagnostic scans reveal elevated cortisol levels, consistent with chronic stress and unresolved grief." Connor sat up slowly, the weight of those words pressing into his chest. "Damn it, Nick." He stared toward the bedroom door, mind racing with memories he'd tried not to revisit. He exhibited similar behaviour after Chris died. His younger brother. He shut down for weeks, barely ate, barely spoke. "I thought he was going to break back then." Apollo's voice softened, carrying an almost human cadence. "I am aware. Mr. Adams's psychological profile shows persistent avoidance behaviour related to his brother's death. His appointed therapist's reports identify the loss as a significant emotional trigger, one that Mr. Adams refuses to process." "Yeah," Connor murmured, rubbing the back of his neck. "He never talks about Chris. Not to me. He never discusses Chris with anyone. It's like, if he doesn't say it out loud, then it never happened, but it did." Silence filled the room. Gentle, heavy, alive only with the soft hum of the lighting system. Then Connor looked up at the ceiling. "Can you promise not to tell Nick I asked about this?" he said quietly, though his voice carried an undercurrent of resolve. I want to help him without making things worse." "Acknowledged, Mr. Jenkins," Apollo replied. "This conversation will not be recorded or archived within the mansion's databanks." Connor nodded, letting his head fall back against the pillow, the Polybius resting on his chest. "Thanks, Apollo. Just keep looking out for him, all right? He's my best mate." There was a pause, a flicker of silence so brief it almost sounded like thought, before Apollo spoke again. His tone softened to something almost tender. "I always do." Soon after, Connor heard a knock at his door. "Come in," he called. Already fairly sure who it was. The door swung open, and Nick stepped inside, casting a quick glance around the room. He spotted Connor sprawled across the bed, the picture of comfort. A stark contrast to the chaos they'd escaped only hours before. "You've settled in quickly," Nick said with a wry smile. "As long as I've got my Polybius," Connor replied, gesturing to the compact gaming console beside him. "Plus my anime and manga stash on my phone, I could survive a nuclear winter." Nick chuckled. He'd always admired how unapologetically Connor embraced his otaku side, even when it had made him a target at school. The only way Connor had managed to avoid getting crushed was thanks to the school's self-defense program and the extra combat training Nick had received from Susan Pankhurst. Nick had never used that training to show off or intimidate. It was a matter of principle. Defense, not aggression. Protection, not ego. But now, seeing his best friend safe and finally at peace, something deeper stirred in Nick. It was time to stop hiding. "Connor," he said quietly, "I'm overjoyed you're okay, and I'm grateful you came all this way to be here, especially now when everything feels like it's falling apart. But if you're going to be living here, there's something you need to know." Connor sat up, curiosity sharpening his features. "All right, mate, I'm listening." Before continuing, Nick looked up toward the ceiling. "Apollo, are the bedrooms soundproof?" "Yes, Mr. Adams," the AI replied smoothly. "The bedrooms and bathrooms are constructed with acoustic insulation to ensure privacy and minimize disturbances." Nick nodded once. "Good. That makes the job easier." He began pacing slowly. The weight of the truth was pressing on him like armor. "When I first came here, I thought it'd just be a safe place to stay. Somewhere quiet, away from the Black Death, the gangs, and all the madness tearing the city apart. But my uncle, he had other plans." Nick stopped, facing Connor squarely. "He's given me a job, a special one. I'm fighting back against the Black Death, the gangs, everything that's poisoning this city." Connor leaned forward, wide-eyed. "What kind of job are we talking about?" Nick glanced at the nanolinker on his wrist, his expression shifting. "Shield your eyes," he warned. "What I'm about to show you will be bright." Okay?" Connor muttered, half amused as he covered his face with one arm. Nick raised his fist. His voice was steady and powerful. "I'm Zeus." A brilliant surge of white light flooded the room, the air crackling with static as nanomites activated in a blinding cascade. The energy pulsed through the space, vibrating through the floorboards like a living current. When the radiance faded, Connor cautiously peeked through his fingers, then froze, jaw slack in utter disbelief. Standing before him was Zeus, armoured, towering. The warrior exuded an aura of power. This was the same warrior who had fought Leonard, the same hero splashed across every news broadcast. And yet, impossibly, it was Nick. "No way," Connor breathed. "No bloody way. Zeus? You're Zeus." Nick pressed a button on his wrist, and the armor responded with a smooth hiss as the helmet retracted, revealing his familiar face underneath. "I am," he said softly. Still at a loss for words, Connor pushed himself up from the bed and stepped closer to Nick, eyes wide with awe as he took in the suit's sleek metallic contours. "This is the sort of thing I'd see in one of the anime I watch, like Kogen no Shugosha or Senritsu no Kikai," he marveled, excitement bubbling in his voice. "It's unreal." You know, that's precisely what I said to William after my first transformation, Nick replied, grinning at the memory. He knew how much Connor adored mecha anime. The comparison felt oddly full circle. But it isn't just for show. Since I started using the suit, I'm faster, stronger. And Apollo's fully integrated with it, which makes things a whole lot easier. He saved my life more than once. Connor's expression shifted as the pieces fell into place. Wait, if you're Zeus, then you're the one who took down that junkie in the park last night. And you were the one who helped the Spartans save everyone on the train. Overcome, he threw his arms around Nick in a fierce, grateful hug. Thank you. Seriously, thank you so much, Nick. Nick returned the embrace, his chest tightening with warmth at the depth of Connor's gratitude. That's what I'm here for, he said softly, to protect people like you. But the weight of responsibility returned to his shoulders, tempering the warmth. It's not just about the Black Death, he continued, his tone hardening with resolve. Once I deal with Thanatos and his army, I will pursue all their associates. Every last one of them will answer for their crimes against humanity. Connor's eyes widened. You're planning to do all that? On your own? Not quite, Nick replied, catching the concern in his friend's voice. I'm working with Gina Rhodes. She's a Spartan, a legend from the Grand War. She's helping me dismantle the Black Death from the inside. Wow, Connor breathed, blinking. You are working with someone else. That's a surprise. You've always been the do-it-yourself type. You hated putting people at risk. Nick nodded slowly. That's true. I always believed that going it alone would protect me from harm, but this situation is bigger than anything I've faced. The Black Death isn't just a gang. They're a coordinated terrorist network. Weapons, intel, political reach, and worse. He let the words hang in the air for a moment. Previously, I successfully fought London's criminals on my own. It helped me master the suit, but this is war. I can't win it alone. Is there anything I can do to help you? Connor asked, the eagerness in his voice unmistakable. He was desperate to be useful, especially now living under the same roof as Nick. It felt like a chance to find purpose again amid the chaos they'd escaped. Thanks, Connor, Nick replied, his tone warm but firm. But I think it's best if you stay here at the mansion. You'll be safe with May and her kids. He hesitated, then added more carefully. Besides, I don't think William has a spare nanolinker lying around, and technically I'm not supposed to tell anyone I'm Zeus. Connor gave a reassuring nod. You've got nothing to worry about. You can trust me. Your secret's safe with me. Nick smiled faintly, grateful for that unwavering loyalty. A brief silence lingered before Connor leaned forward and changed the subject. Speaking of May, how did you end up meeting them? Nick took a breath, mentally retracing the past few days. I met them on the train to London. Just like us, they were coming from Stevenage. We crossed paths again at Victoria Embankment Gardens, right after Anne and James fought off 3 racists who were shouting abuse at them for being part of the UAA. His brow tightened at the memory. It got ugly. Connor's expression darkened. The mention of the UAA struck close to home. Yeah, that kind of thing's all too familiar. Mum's had to deal with it more times than I can count. People hate what they don't understand. It's exhausting. Nick nodded grimly. Exactly. Those thugs didn't stand a chance once Anne and James stepped in, but still, it rattled everyone, especially those who already felt unsafe just for existing. So, you offered them a place to stay? Connor asked, piecing it together. Yeah, Nick said simply. They tried staying at Anne's ex-boyfriend's place, but his grandfather turned them away. Same reason, he couldn't stand the UAA either, so I brought them here. He paused, then smiled slightly. William didn't mind. In fact, he offered May a job, housekeeper and my private tutor. He said it would be beneficial for the household to have someone who could teach discipline and cook, like a Michelin chef. Connor was genuinely impressed by Nick's willingness to help people he had only just met. It spoke volumes about his character, a quality that had always defined him, especially when someone was in need. Around Christmas in particular, Nick had a knack for spreading cheer and goodwill wherever he went, leaving an impression that lingered long after. So, Connor teased, a grin tugging at the corner of his mouth, when you're not off with Gina, you're out at night, like some comic book superhero fighting crime? Pretty much, Nick replied with a flicker of pride. I told Anne I work for my uncle's company, just office stuff, nothing flashy. I said I'd signed an NDA, so I can't talk about it. Connor raised an amused eyebrow. Wait, and she actually bought that? Nick smirked at the memory. Yep, took it at face value. Works for me. I can come and go discreetly using the old abandoned underground station beneath the mansion. Before Connor could respond, Apollo's smooth voice chimed in, calm but pointed. Sir, I would advise against sharing sensitive company information with individuals not employed by Midas. Relax, Apollo, Nick said, waving a hand. Connor's my best friend. What I tell him stays between us. You have my word on that, Connor added firmly. I'd never betray Nick's trust. There was a brief pause before Apollo answered, his tone steady but edged with logic. Regardless, sir, it remains unwise to reveal your identity, even to close friends. Should Mr. Jenkins be captured, there's always the risk of forced disclosure. Such a breach could compromise your mission. Nick sighed, a flicker of tension crossing his features. With a faint mechanical hum, the armor began to retract, panels folding away and disappearing into the nano-linker on his wrist until he stood once more in his ordinary clothes. I'm not stupid, Apollo, he said quietly. I've learnt the hard way, who I can trust, and what happens when that trust is broken. The words lingered in the room, heavy with unspoken pain. Connor's gaze softened. I remember, he said quietly, even if it's something we both wish we could forget. Before either could say more, a knock broke the silence. Who is it? Nick called. The door creaked open and James leaned in, his easygoing grin instantly lightening the mood. Hey guys, just a heads up. Dinner's in 5. Better get downstairs before Mum starts handing out chores again. Got it, James. We'll be there in a sec, Nick replied, already catching the unmistakable aroma of May's cooking wafting up the staircase. James gave a thumbs up before disappearing back down the corridor. Connor's stomach growled audibly, earning him a laugh from Nick. After the day we've had, Connor said, rubbing his belly with mock desperation, we've definitely earned a big meal. Nick grinned, but as Connor reached for the door, his voice dropped in tone. Connor, he said softly, don't forget what I told you. About Zeus. No one else can know. Connor turned, expression serious. Don't worry. If anyone asks who I think Zeus is, I'll just say I haven't got the faintest clue. Nick gave a grateful nod, the bond between them silently reaffirmed. And with that unspoken pact hanging between them, the two friends stepped out into the hallway and made their way downstairs, side by side, ready for a well-earned dinner and whatever tomorrow might bring.